when you are like a session musician, you sometimes have to play music you don't really like, and everybody deals differently with this fact. So some people, I think, really enjoy making artists happy no matter what, and some people are more focused on their own feelings, and maybe if they feel like, I don't want to play this music on a tour because it's always the same and it's boring. It's okay to play this in the studio because then it's only one day and I only have to play each song 4 or 5 times, but when I'm on a tour I have to play each song every night. And so it depends on the personality you are. And I realize that I'm happy to play in that band because I really like the music, and also the Jan Delay, he's the boss, he's the guy everybody knows. He's a very generous person in every aspect. But I did also play different bigger tours in Germany in the last couple of years, and with other artists, and they made me realize it's not about playing to big audiences. It's about playing the music you like.
And playing with people that you like.
Yes.
I'd like to welcome everybody into the podcast today. Our guest is Meinl Cymbals artist Jost Nickel. Jost, from Germany, plays with one of the most popular German artists there is, Jan Delay Disko No. These guys have had tons of #1 hits, actually. They tour, and when they tour, they play pretty big places over there. Jost is also really well known as an instructor. In fact, one of his students at one time was Meinl Cymbals artist Annika Nilles. When Jost was coming up, he studied at the Drummers Collective in New York City, and eventually, at some point in his career, he became an instructor at the University of Pop in Mannheim. He's also released 2 best-selling books through Alfred Publishing. One of them is called Jost Nickel's Groove Book. Another one is called Jost Nickel's Phil Book, and it was nominated as Best Educational Product in 2019 by Modern Drummer magazine. He's also been nominated and voted as Best Clinician by drum publications and websites worldwide. I actually found out about Jost from a couple of our cymbal artists who were telling me over and over about this guy named Jost. It was Mike Johnston and Chris Coleman. Embarrassingly enough, I might have found out about Jost after he was on board as a Meinl Cymbals artist. But either way, I'm really glad I did find out about him. He's a super incredibly cool guy, great human being, and an insane drummer also. First time I met him, I believe, was at a PASIC convention in the States when he was scheduled to perform there. And we got together with Jost. It was my colleague Norbert from Meinl, Germany. We got together with Jost one night before he was due to perform, and it was fun. We got to hang out, have some dinner together, and Jost is immediately agreeable, just a cool guy to hang out with. So I was pretty pumped, actually, when Norbert asked me if I could interview Jost for the Meinl Radio Podcast. So we got together, both of us on the phone with our respective tape recorders, as it were, running, and had a conversation, and it was great. So without further ado, here is Jost Nickel. So I'd like to welcome everybody into the Meinl Radio Podcast. Today, our guest is the one and only, the awesome Jost Nickel, my friend from Germany, who is a great drummer and a great human being. Right now, we're doing this on the phone. Jost is sitting at, I think, my colleague Norbert's desk, or close to it.
That's right.
Okay, cool. So he's sitting at Norbert's desk or close to it, and we are just chatting intercontinentally right now, actually. So it's super cool. This is a first for me.
Yeah, it makes me smile. Yeah, good to talk to you, Chris, and I'm glad to be on this show.
Yeah, man, good to talk to you, Jost. So, dude, I'm going to jump right in. Knowing our podcast's analytics, the majority of our listeners are based in the U.S., and because of that, even though you've performed here in the States, I'm going to ask some questions based off of the presumption that there are some details about you that they may not know, compared to, say, a podcast in Germany. Is that cool?
Yeah, totally.
Okay, great. So, first of all, I'm going to skip the part about you banging on your parents' pots and pans as a kid. You know, that thing that every interview seems to start with.
Thanks.
And I'm going to... You're welcome.
That's what I never read.
Dude, I don't read those either. I don't know why anybody hasn't figured out by now to stop asking those questions.
Thanks, man.
But I am interested in one aspect of your training, your formal education, but it comes, I think, later on in life, because when you were a little kid, you weren't in New York City. But later on, you did study at the Drummers Collective in New York, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So a couple of questions about that. When was that? What was your motivation for going to that specific institution? And what did you walk away with after you left there?
Okay, that was in 1991, after I finished school. And really my mother was responsible for me going there, because she realized that I really take drums seriously, and that I'm seriously thinking about trying to do this to make a living. So, I didn't have any idea how this could work, and she didn't have any idea. And then because she plays violin, and she's not a professional violin player, but she's still playing and practicing and taking lessons, and she knew that many Asian people and also people from the States come to Germany to study classical music, because classical music is a big thing in Germany. And so she figured, hey, from what I understand is that most of the drummers you really like are Americans, so I just think you should go to America to study there. That was just her being logical.
Okay, no, that's cool.
And I just studied the ads in Modern Drummer, and I don't know why New York seemed like the better choice, but I didn't have any possibility to check that. It was just my gut telling me that.
Right. Now, had you ever traveled to the States prior to that?
No.
Okay, interesting. And so that was 1991. That was your motivation. What did you walk away with after you left there? What kind of tools did you have in the bag?
The tools are important, but more important was the feeling that I want to do this professionally.
Oh, I see.
That's what I got. Because I didn't have any good comparison back then. I didn't know if my motivation was enough and my understanding of drumming and music in general was enough to even try to do this. But the 3 months there showed me that it was enough, because I could compare myself to the drummers from all over the world, because there was only 1 or 2 American drummers, and all the rest were from like Australia, Japan, Europe, Canada, South America. And so it was a good possibility to have like a comparison, even if it doesn't mean too much, but it gave me the feeling that my passion for this was more than most of the people I studied with had.
That sounds like it's way more of a benefit than any kind of technical training that you received while you were there.
Yes, that's what I said first. And then I was so motivated because the teaching concepts that were presented to me made so much sense to me that I immediately started applying these concepts to my own ideas. And I was like, hey, can I do this? Is this kind of like allowed? And the teachers were like, yeah, man, that's really the best thing you can do with this. Make it your own. And so it really opened up a new world for me, because it was more like, even though I'm German, that you can hear that because I have a German accent, I guess.
You do?
What are you talking about, Chris?
I thought you were Australian. Come on.
Yes. Now I don't know what I wanted to say. My mistake. No, but so the whole thing methodically was a lot more analytic than I was used to the way drums were being taught in Germany. And so that was interesting for me, because as Germans we are supposed to be very analytic, and but it was quite the opposite, that in America all the teachers were very analytic, and this helped me a lot.
That's super cool. Well, going along with that, being in New York City can be attractive to a musician. Same as being in, say, London or Nashville, Los Angeles, or any other any other major music city in the world.
Yeah.
Did you ever feel any pull towards New York in terms of staying there, or maybe coming back there one day, or did you have a pretty definite plan in mind for your path as a musician upon exiting the collective?
No, I didn't have any plan. The only plan was I wanted to do this, really. I wanted to play and I wanted to practice. That was my only plan. And so I like Europe, I like Germany, I like living in Germany, so I didn't mind going back. And then, of course, there were points in my career when I thought, maybe I should move to London or to New York or LA, but then I never did it because I think I just like being in Germany.
Oh, dude.
Living.
Yeah.
Living is so much more than just having a career as a musician. And so, no, not really. I know that if you want to play with international American artists, you have to be in America, that's obvious. So if you want to play with Justin Timberlake, you should probably be in the city where the band he plays with stays or lives. But no, other than that, no.
Well, that's cool. And I don't ever put any stock in that whole thing of, if you're a musician anywhere in the world, there's only one place to be. There's plenty of places to be as far as I'm concerned. There's incredible musicians all over, and you can have incredible careers as a musician all over. So
sorry.
No, go ahead.
Especially as drummers, it's we have this nice opportunity that many, or I guess no other musician really has, is the whole drum community thing gives us German drummers the possibility to travel the world anyway without an artist that is internationally known. So that's part of the reason why I like the whole drum community thing so much, because it gives me the opportunity to visit other countries while doing my job, to tour other countries. And sometimes I think, because there's quite a few German drummers that are well known, excuse me, sometimes I have this analogy that like poor younger kids, they try to be good at sports because that's their way out of poverty and into the light. And sometimes for German drummers, it's like, I'm gonna try this drum thing because that's my way out in the world. Sometimes I feel like, this is kind of true.
Oh, dude, that's incredible. That completely fast forwards me to a question I was going to save for later in the podcast, or at least it's down here at the bottom of my sheet. But I'm going to ask it now because now we're talking about it. So Germany has become known for producing drummers that are on a whole nother level of talent, and you're a prime example of that. You're one of those guys in my mind. What is it about Germany and its musical culture that in the last 20 years or so has given us all these incredible drummers to admire? Is it just what you were talking about? Is it anything else?
That's just my theory, and I think that plays a role. And then it's also the example. So I guess Marco Minnemann would have been the first drummer that really had this big international impact, and that gives other drummers like Benny Greb or Annika Nilles, who came later. But I always call her Nilles, but I think you call her Niles, right?
No, I call her Nilles.
Yeah, that's her name. Yeah, and so it inspires the other players and tells them, well, this opportunity is there. So because Marco showed us the way, and then it's easier for us because we see it as an opportunity and as a possibility. And as soon as you start realizing this is actually something that can happen, I think it will, or the possibility of it to really happen is a lot higher. So that's one thing. So it's inspiration, not so much the drumming inspiration, but more the career inspiration maybe. And then I think like only regarding the drummer thing is that, and contrary to the drummers in the US, we don't have this rudimental education here. So we really don't have it. So we learn the rudiments, but it's not as much as you do when you play in a drum corps. And so that changes the way you think about phrases, and maybe that's the reason why there's a different approach.
Yeah, so it's because of what you were just describing as part of your upbringing as a drummer, you guys you have sort of a different dialect that you use as a drummer than, say, a drummer from England might use, or a drummer from the US.
Yeah, because honestly, I never think about a single rudiment when I play. I use singles and doubles, of course, but even a paradiddle, I never think paradiddle, never ever. And of course, I have some exercises that I show to my students that involve a paradiddle. But when I play, I never think paradiddle, and so it's. I think it's a way of thinking about phrases which has nothing to do with stickings, because your rudiments eventually are stickings, and it has more to do with phrasing, and so maybe that could be a reason. I'm not sure. But,
and I'm curious about this. Now, this makes me wonder if this is what you mean. So do you feel like when you listen to drummers outside of Germany, and let's talk about U.S. drummers, do you feel, and I know we're not going to overgeneralize here because that wouldn't be fair to anybody, but given some of the drummers you've heard from the U.S., do you literally mean to say that some of these guys, while they're playing, are thinking of the actual stickings that they're doing, the phrasings, like they're going through it in my brain, like, okay, here comes that part, it's paradiddle time. Is that what you mean?
How can I know? I don't know what anybody thinks while they play.
Sure.
But
that's what it sounds like.
Yeah, sometimes it does. Yeah, it's a lot more. It's like it's a lot more classical, so to say. Because there's this big rudimental culture which we simply don't have, and sometimes a culture like this limits yourself to this culture. But don't get me wrong, I'm not saying or suggesting that anybody is limited that way. It's just, maybe I should have said, approaching the thing differently because of the culture.
Yeah, no, I understand. And either way, maybe, and it's all in what you perceive. I mean, it's very subjective. It's what you hear is different from what someone else hears. So maybe that's just how you hear it. It's kind of like when you hear someone speak English, it sounds different to you than the way I hear somebody speak English. Or if I were to speak German to you, it would sound way different to you than a native speaker. Or I totally get it. I mean, at the end, that's all these stickings and phrases are. It's like using the word and the and he and she. They're just words, and they don't mean anything until you put them into a context.
Yeah.
So, that's totally interesting. Okay, let's kind of shift here.
Yeah.
So I'd like to let our listeners know you're a tutor at the University of Pop in Mannheim, Germany, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
From my understanding, that's the German equivalent of, say, Berklee College of Music here in the States?
Yeah, but it's, yes, in a way, but the big difference is that this is a public school in Germany. And the public schools in Germany are considered the good schools, right? It's quite the opposite in the US, I think.
Okay.
So it's not a private school, so students don't have to pay anything to study there. So everybody wants to study there. And so the students are really very good, because we only accept like 4 or maybe 5 drummers every year. But you can choose from the best. And so that's why the school is so good, because the students are so good.
Okay. Well, so you're a tutor there. You've also released 2 best-selling books, which I'm going to shamelessly plug for you so you don't have to do it.
Oh, thanks.
They're through Alfred Publishing. One is called Jost Nickel's Groove Book. It came out in 2015. Another one is called Jost Nickel's Fill Book. It came out in 2017.
Right.
You were nominated Best Clinician by Modern Drummer magazine in 2016. Also, you were on the UK publication website Music Radar's list of the 10 best drum clinicians in the world, and that was in 2016 and 2017. So,
well, yeah. That sounds pretty amazing. Who are you talking about again? I'm sorry.
I don't know. Yeah. Herman Rarebell. So, Okay, right now I want you to drop the humility for just a second. Tell us what makes you such a good teacher.
Oh, I think maybe it's because I think it all started in New York, and the way they thought about phrases and drums and rhythm in general, and then it just clicked. It just clicked, and I was like, yeah, now I got it, and now I can use the same rhythmic material for all the different ideas I want to express on the kids. So maybe it's the separation of ideas and rhythms that I always have, because the rhythmic material you can use in music in general is quite limited, right? If you have one bar of 4/4 time, it's 16 16th notes, and that's never going to change. Nobody's going to change that, not in 500 years from now. I said that somewhere else again, but it doesn't matter because it's true. And so I always separate the idea from the rhythmical concept, and that gives you the possibility to use the rhythmical concept with different ideas. And that's the way I teach, and that's what I teach everybody. And some really like that, and some students they don't, because they don't want to be analytic in their practice. I don't want anybody to be analytic in their playing, but when they practice, they should be. That's at least how I do it.
Right. No, that makes total sense. And so you feel like this very analytical approach to practice combined with when you play through all your materials at practice, and then you devote the last 30 minutes or 15 minutes of your practice towards just free flow. That's when the heart and the soul and the spirit comes out, and you can apply subconsciously everything you've been teaching them. That's what you really push for?
Yes, and ultimately I think that everything we do in the drumming world is just based on passion. That's it. Because there's no other reason than passion. Because you would never, if you tell somebody, hey, if you start playing drums now, you have to at least play for 10 years, and then you start sounding quite all right. If you tell it somebody, everybody would be like, no, then I don't want to start because it takes too long. And it does take long, and it takes too long, but everything is just based on passion. And so what I tell my students is always the same. I tell them, what's your passion? What do you like most? And then they sometimes don't know, and then I try to find out with them, and then I tell them, hey, go where your passion is, even in drumming. So if you're passionate about double bass drumming, hey, go for it. Please do, because there's really no reason why you should play a samba, except you want to learn it and you're interested in something else than double bass playing. But if you say, hey, samba is not for me, then I'll be like, yeah, I'm going to show it to you anyway so that you know, but I'm not Brazilian, so I can show you my version of a samba, but it's okay. So I always tell them, it's all based on passion. Everything we do, and everything you do at Meinl should be based on that, because if there's not passionate drummers buying cymbals, then there's no need for cymbal makers, right?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And so I would wager to say the real answer here is that whatever passion that you hold for teaching and for drumming is what's come forth and made people nominate and vote for you as best clinician, and really flock to come see your clinics. It's why they do, because they pick up on that from you. Safe to say?
Yes, and thanks. And I think it's people, even drummers, they want to be entertained.
Correct.
And that doesn't mean that you have to twirl sticks. You can, there's various ways of entertaining people. I mean, in the end, it's just, if you as an act, it could be a band or a clinician or whatever, if you play and then people forget time and they are completely absorbed by your performance, then that's the best thing you can do, the best goal you can reach. And that's the best feeling you can get. I mean, I'm in audiences a lot, and if I, listen to a concert and I totally forget about how late is it now, I forget about time, and then that's the best experience.
Yeah, no, I agree. And just as a brief aside, while we're talking about all these accolades that you've received from publications nominating and voting you for this, I want to let you know, because I don't think I've ever told you this. There's two people that stick out of my mind as the two people that I already knew about you. I'd seen you. I enjoyed watching and listening to you, and of course knowing you as a human. But two of our artists really go out of their way to talk you up big time, and one of them was Chris Coleman.
Wow.
Another was Mike Johnston. Both of them they're big fans of yours.
Oh yeah, wow, yeah. Now, yeah, it's good that you can't see me now.
Bless you. So, okay, let's totally change gears here. In 2006, you joined the German group Jan Delay Disko No.
Yeah.
For everybody out there who doesn't know, this group's releases have all gone to #1 on the charts, and you guys do sold-out shows all around Germany. So my first question, because of being in this group, considering the success you guys have had, are you unable to move through Germany without signing autographs and being stopped by fans, or do you go around sort of undetected?
No, it's both.
Did you sign any autographs on the train on the way down here?
No, I didn't, but sometimes I do on planes or public transportation. But most of the time I'm undetected because I'm only the drummer, right? So
only the drummer, come on.
No, I mean, I know how important drummers are for bands. So,
I know, but
I'm
kidding.
The audience is always focused on the singer.
Gotcha.
It's like, yeah, and I'm so totally, completely fine with that. So yeah, it's definitely a great experience to play on big festivals where you get to play to 60,000 people or so, and to even headline these festivals. So that's amazing. Having done this for the last couple of years, it always comes back to the same thing for me. It's always about the music. So it's not about playing to a big audience. It's about playing the music you like to a big audience.
Yeah, no, that
right?
Yeah, of course.
And yeah, but it's not always the case. Even especially when you are like a session musician, you sometimes have to play music you don't really like, and everybody deals differently with this fact. So some people, I think, really enjoy making artists happy no matter what, and some people are more focused on their own feelings, and maybe if they feel like, I don't want to play this music on a tour because it's always the same and it's boring. It's okay to play this in the studio because then it's only one day and I only have to play each song 4 or 5 times, but when I'm on a tour I have to play each song every night. And so it depends on the personality you are. And I realize that I'm happy to play in that band because I really like the music, and also the Jan Delay, he's the boss, he's the guy everybody knows. He's a very generous person in every aspect. But I did also play different bigger tours in Germany in the last couple of years, and with other artists, and they made me realize it's not about playing to big audiences. It's about playing the music you like.
And playing with people that you like.
Yes.
Not to say that the artists that you played with over the last couple of years were bad people, just saying that it probably made you also appreciate the other situation that you came from.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Huh. So how long does it take to do a full tour of Germany?
Oh, it depends. You could play like, I don't know. I know bands that play like 120 gigs in Germany. So that's 5 months, 6 months maybe.
Huh. Okay. Cool.
So because it's a quite dense population, and you always when you're successful in Germany, you also are successful in Switzerland and Austria and parts of Belgium, and so it's a little bit more than just Germany. And there's people just like to go to concerts, but with Jan Delay we don't play tours that are that long because he doesn't like to tour for too long.
Well, plus I would assume that he plays such big halls that you can get a lot of people from surrounding areas into one place on one night.
That's like if you want to play many gigs, it's probably better to play with not the most successful artists, because the more successful they get, the less gigs they play, because it's more people at one gig, right?
It sounds so backwards, although it makes total sense.
It does, yeah. No, but I'm fine with that. So, but then that makes me having realized that really that it's not about the success you see, like you see this big audiences and then the drummer is on stage. Having realized that it's not only about that for me, for myself, because I'm not that person that just wants to play to big audiences. I also want to enjoy the music. So that's why I wrote these books, and also I'm working on an album right now, because I really want to do the things I enjoy. That's really my thing.
Well, no, that makes total sense. Well, okay, regarding working with very successful artists, whether it's Jan Delay or the couple of artists you've toured with over the last 2 years, which, by the way, who were those artists?
I don't want to, I kind of said that they made me realize that I want to play the music I like, so I shouldn't name names. Right?
Okay, no, fair enough. So, forgetting those guys and only focusing on Jan Delay.
Come on.
Sorry. We're going to forget those guys. We're just going to focus on Jan. So, what's your favorite part of being involved in a very successful group, and what's your least favorite part?
Actually, the favorite part is probably the success allows you to because they make a lot of money. That means that all the surroundings are really cool. The hotels are really cool. Transportation is really cool. Food is really good. I don't have to bring anything to the gig except myself. Not even clothes. It's all there. After the gig, I just change my dress and then put it in a box, and it gets cleaned. And so it's very convenient. And also the music is really cool. So that's a big plus. I don't really see any downside, to be honest.
So you get to comfortably play music that you really like with zero downside.
Yeah.
Dude.
I'm sorry. Yeah, and I also get to co-write the music, so that's another thing that I really enjoy.
All right, so let's back this up. So you have creative satisfaction getting to conveniently and comfortably play music that you very much enjoy.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's really that good. Yeah.
That's crazy. That sounds like a dream gig.
It is.
Wow. How cool for you, man. That makes me happy for you. I'm over here smiling in the US for you right now.
Yeah, I'm smiling as well. Yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah, super cool. But aside from what you do with Jan Delay, you also work on sessions, correct?
Yeah.
So you've got a home studio called The Shed Room?
Right.
Okay.
Man, you're well informed.
I try to do my research.
Yeah.
Do you ever work within the setting of a commercial studio?
Commercials? You mean like? I'm having a language barrier.
Oh, I'm sorry. So when I say a commercial studio, I mean a studio that is for rent, like where you live in. Okay.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay. I thought you were talking about a studio where they make music for commercials.
No.
Yeah, I see.
Okay, so you do both. You do sessions out of your home studio, the Shed Room, but you also load in and do sessions in the studio. Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
Of course. Yeah.
How much of your job? I guess it maybe depends on the year, how much Jan is touring, but how much of your job throughout the year is session work versus live work?
Oh, it's really not so much session work. I would love to do it more, but it has decreased in the last few years. But I understand for everybody, or mostly everybody, because the whole... everybody knows that record companies sell less and less CDs, and now CD is going to be really dead in like a few years because nobody even owns a CD player anymore. So that makes record companies spend less money, and then they hire less musicians and so on and so on. So it has been a lot more, but now it's less. I can't really say how much, but I really enjoy it every time I do it, but I don't... it's just okay the way it is. I can't change the business, so I'm always happy when somebody calls me to do a session, and I enjoy it, but it's not my main focus to get more session work or more this or more that. So whenever I have, I Jan is not playing or I don't get called for sessions, then I'm gonna write my own music or write a new book or something like that.
Well, you mentioned that you were working on your own album right now. Who's playing on that? Is it all you? Is there someone else? And what kind of music is it?
Yeah, very good question. Next question, please. No, it's a good question, but it's really so hard to categorize your own music.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. That's probably a pretty aggravating question to be asked.
It's very difficult. Maybe I should next time I prepare an answer for that one, and then I seem like I have thought about this. No, it's not just drums. No, it's songs. I really like songs. I'm not singing, and then I don't want anybody else to sing. Lyrics. There will be vocals on the CD, but it's you or the album. But you would consider it being an instrumental album.
Yeah, sure. And there are other people playing on it as well? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
When you want to turn off your brain for a little while from music and your career and drumming, I mean, literally the part of you that has nothing to do with your day-to-day, and of course, drumming is your passion, it's what you love to do, and you would love to sit down and play just for fun. But even aside, when you put those sticks down, you put everything in music down, and you go do something else. Whether it's going to see monster trucks, or whether it's going to whether you like to smoke sausages in your backyard, what's something else no one would ever know about you that is that thing that you kind of geek out on? Maybe you follow it on a hashtag of it on Instagram or something.
I really have to admit I'm such a drum nerd. I don't have anything like that. No,
well, that's cool.
I don't know. I feel like so I do have a family. And so I really love to spend time with my 2 kids and my wife. And and since my kids are quite young, that's a different world, and I totally enjoy that. And then it's not about me or drumming or me being in a band that everybody knows, at least in Germany. It's just me being a person, a dad, and that's something I really enjoy. And everything else is really drumming and writing music and reading books about drums or checking out drum books, or it's all music related. It's hard to turn off my brain. Really.
No, I totally get it. So, okay, I'm curious, being such a drum nerd, as probably most people that are listening to this podcast are, within drumming itself, what's one thing that you really geek out on? Do you scour social media for pictures of vintage drums? Are you into a certain era of drumming? Is there a certain type of drum shell that you're like, dude, they've got this one Vistalite?
No, I'm not about gear. It's not about gear really. It's more about phrasing, I would say. So I'm into phrases and phrasing options and possibilities, and I do like to use subdivisions that you never hear me play in my practice and other stuff. And this really keeps me focused all the time. So that's what I geek out on.
Do you have any friends, any drummer friends that you either talk on the phone with, or you get together and mess around and ideas come up? Benny Greb and I, we live in Hamburg, both in Hamburg, and we used to do it a lot more, like just meet and play drums. And then he once suggested that we give each other lessons, like I give him one lesson, he gives me another lesson. So that's something I like doing. But he's being very busy, and then I'm away, and I'm a dad, and he's a dad, and so we didn't do that for quite a long time. But he was a drummer that I met a lot. And then there's another drummer I want to do this with, but we didn't have the chance, who is also a Meinl artist. He has a percussion duo which is called Drashheads, and they did play on the last edition of the Meinl Drum Festival, I think, or it might be the one before that, I'm not sure. So that's the guy, Simon Gattringer is his name, and he lives in Hamburg as well. So there are quite a few good drummers that I would like to meet and just play with. We just get together and play. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's super cool. So I've got 2 more questions for you, and one, we'll edit this out if you don't want to talk about it, but it's come to my attention that you've become pretty active in China the last few years, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, I think you even work with someone who might technically be classified as like your Chinese manager, right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Now, there's Norbert was telling me about this. He said there's a new chain of drum schools that's being started over there in China.
Yeah.
And that you're going to be the educational supervisor for these schools.
Right.
There's a few other drummers that I know of that are becoming active in China, and considering the population over there and considering how many people are getting into drumming, it's becoming like this explosive growth of drummers over there.
Yeah.
It's almost like another career that you guys get to have outside of the Western world.
Yes.
So how did that come about? How did you tap into that vein of work, and what's that experience been like for you?
Okay, it was like that. I played at PASIC in 2016, and then the guy that became my Chinese manager was there. He just was there because he's going there every year, and he just liked my playing. And then he asked me, "Hey, do you want to come to China to do some clinics?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I would like to do that," but I didn't say that. But I thought, "Yeah, well, you're not the first Chinese person who asks me this, but you might be the first one who actually does it." And he actually did it, and the experience is great. I mean, it's a different planet, really, to be in China. It's so different from, I mean, the US and Germany are different from each other, but the differences are quite small. I mean, at first you don't even realize there are many differences. That's at least how I feel about it. But then when you talk to people in the US, you realize there are some differences in culture, or let's just one topic that comes to mind about guns. So the way you look at guns in the US is different than the way we look at guns in Germany, and for right. So there's differences in culture, but they are not so big. But in China, I mean, the differences are large.
Sure.
And so that's interesting, and it's also I never judge it. It's just the way it is. But some things that the way some people act or behave would be considered rude in Germany, but it's not in China. And the other way around, it's totally okay in Germany to blow your nose in public. Yeah, right? Take a handkerchief, blow your nose.
Yeah.
That's considered rude in China. And so you would never guess that if you didn't know, right? And so that's really interesting. And then the drumming side is very, very different, because they really approach drumming like a classical instrument. So they want to have transcriptions of my playing, and they just copy what I play exactly, note by note. So that's how they learn at the moment. It's like a classical instrument, and I'm sure it's going to change and evolve, but that's at the moment the way the Chinese or everybody I met wants to approach this instrument.
So when you go over to China and you work there, what's the longest stretch of time you've spent over there at one time?
3 weeks.
Wow. And so I assume after a couple of weeks you start to get used to things, you figure out what you like, what you don't like.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty comfortable when you go over there. You're well taken care of. Yeah,
it's very comfortable. It's really very comfortable. So I only see a very small part of China, because I only see the bigger cities, or the cities in general. So I don't get to see all the poor people that live in the countryside and the way they live. But when I stay there, I always travel in the high-speed trains or by plane, and the planes are just as the same that we know from Germany or the US. Probably they are more modern because they are not that old, right? And then the trains are really nice, and the hotels are just 5-star hotels from chains you would also know, like Hilton or Marriott or different hotels.
Yeah, sure. So does it feel kind of like you have almost these two separate careers going at one time, by being in China and then coming back to Germany and doing work there?
Yeah, it's very separated. Yeah, but I feel like a lot of things that I do are very separated from each other. Like the band things I do when I get called to play in bands or do sessions, they don't have anything to do with what I do in the drumming world. Nothing. Yeah. It's just not connected. And then the things I do in the drumming world, they don't have anything to do with my gig with Jan Delay, because he's not even known anywhere outside Germany, Switzerland, Austria, right? So it's not connected at all. And sometimes people from the band or the music world ask me, hey, so what are you doing there exactly? And I try to explain, and then I tell them, hey, there's drummers that you probably have never heard of that just do that kind of drumming thing. And then I name some names, and they're like, yeah, I never heard of these guys.
Yeah.
So it's two different planets, and then China is like the third probably planet.
Yeah, no, I think that's actually super cool. You get to really readjust your thinking, and I would say that it keeps you pretty on your toes and inspired and creative at all times, being able to jump from one life to another life to another one. And yeah, and I totally like improvising. So in music, but also in teaching and in my professional life. Not so much, probably I don't want to improvise too much when I travel, for example. So I don't like delays and flights and missing flights and be like, yeah, let's improvise. It's more like the professional side. But so when you go to China, it might be like that they tell you, okay, now you have to do a 2-hour masterclass for the teachers of that school, and the school might be large, might be like 1,500 students, and then you do a clinic for 1 hour, and you get there and you're prepared to do a clinic for advanced players because you're supposed to teach the teachers. But then, like 5 minutes in advance, or before the clinic, or before the masterclass, I'm sorry, they tell you, no, we changed plans. Now, you should teach this group of kids. And then you see like 96 to 8-year-old kids. Oh boy.
All right, and then that's the moment where you can either go, well, F this, I don't do that. Go away. I'm going home now. Or you can be like, hey, this is interesting. That's kind of really interesting because they don't have any idea that nothing that I have prepared works now because it's not going to work. So, but I kind of enjoy these situations, so that's why I can adjust myself well when I'm in Asia or China. Yeah. Man,
that's awesome. So, I've got one more question for you.
Yeah.
So, Jost, please, here's your chance I'm going to let you do the shameless plugging. I want you to please tell all of our listeners, like, what's in your immediate future, what's next for you work-wise from now till a few months down the road. Also, please let people know where they can go to check out anything about you that they might be interested in.
I guess the best hub online for me is probably my website, jostnickel.com. And then, of course, you can find me on all the social platforms. And I'm trying to post things all the time. And really the next biggest thing that I'm working on is my own album, and I'm planning on finishing it this summer and then releasing it this year. And we have already some video shoots for Meinl scheduled with the music from the album, so that's really my main focus at the moment, and I'm working very hard to finish this. It's a lot of work, but it's fun also. It's everything. Like in music, it's everything. It's always fun and frustration, and then you overcome the frustration, and then it's fun again, and then you think, wow, you're the greatest drummer on earth, and then the next day you're like, oh no, no, I was wrong yesterday, now I need to readjust, and then it's frustrating again, and then you overcome the frustration, then it's great again, and so that's the process I'm in right now.
Yeah, no, that's super cool. So wait, these tunes from your album that you're going to be doing videos with us to, and I think the video shoot you said is August? I'm not sure. It's in my calendar. Yeah, I think so, yeah. Okay, maybe that's what Norbert told me. So anyway, either way, you're doing a video shoot and there's these tunes. And that's super cool. Are you going to be, what format will you release this album on?
That's a very good question because I'm not sure.
Dude, you got to do vinyl.
Yes, but apart from that, yeah, vinyl is cool. But then that's only like a small, geek market, and it's fine, it's great, and it's cool. But then the other part of releasing something is really, like 2 years ago you would have said, yeah, CD.
No, now it's digital downloads. Digital downloads and vinyl are like your two best bets.
Probably it's only digital streaming and vinyl.
Right, streaming, yeah. Huh.
But so I'm not sure about that part. But I don't really, like 1% of my brain thinks about that, and the other part thinks about the music at the moment. So I'm really, I always think when you start a big project like this, you overcome the obstacles once they are in your way and not before.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Well, man, Jost, dude, I got to say thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to sit and chat with me and with everybody that's listening about all this stuff about you. I hope that the conversation, I hope the questions weren't too boring.
I'm sorry. What did you say?
Wake up!
I'm sorry, Chris. No, it was really an interesting talk. Thank you. It was
Absolutely
very interesting.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Oh, my pleasure.
Thanks for listening to Meinl Radio. If you liked this episode, please head over to iTunes to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. We would appreciate it very much. Thanks, and we'll see you soon.